Shin Megami Tensei is probably one of my favorite game series. A fact that is extremely obvious upon looking at one of the few playlists I have on this channel. And let me just say, doing my yearly blindfolded SMT challenge was enough for me. After all, it's easy to prep for and learn one battle blindfolded. However, Vengeance recently came out, and I started getting that challenge run itch. I normally never had one with the SMT series because, well, the games can be brutal at times, and I do in fact practice some amount of self-care, but my mind refuses to let me know peace. So here we are. Luckily, the thought that pestered me was a simple one. The question being, can you beat Shin Megami Tensei V Vengeance without using MP? To cut to the chase and prevent any level of semantics, the rules simply mean that I personally cannot make use of active skills costing MP. If SMT5 followed the rules of previous games where physical attacks cost HP, then this run would simply be called a no active skill run. With that out of the way, let's begin. Starting a fresh file on normal mode for my own sanity, we are immediately thrust into our first important decision. As I wish to play through the canon of Vengeance, I choose to take the girl's hand. From here, we experience what my entire existence was in high school. Waking up at the end of class, almost definitely math class if this were me, and I give the protagonist his canonical name. Now, I do try to go about my normal high schooler life and simply walk back to my dorm, but a tunnel ends up caving in on me, and when we awake, I can only presume the rapture has occurred and am an unlucky survivor, as is usual for the high school experience. I mean, high school may as well be like that. Thankfully, some guy shows up to save the day and somehow fuses with us. Ignoring this fact and still thinking of myself as a normal high schooler, I try to simply beat the weird dog that is trying to kill me to death. However, tutorials are stupid and want me to use magic. So no, you cannot beat Shin Megami Tensei V Vengeance without using MP. But damn, I want to see what I can do beyond the tutorial. As we journey forth, we end up running into more weird dogs. However, I learned the way of dog negotiation so I can recruit weird dogs to fight for me. And as these are dogs, they surely must only know how to bite things and can't do any weird demon stuff like use magic. And as I start fighting dogs, I use the most normal item for any high schooler to have their hands on, a grenade. Because I bought the Steelbox version of the game, don't judge me, I'll take what I can get to win. However, we end up then getting ambushed by an even bigger dog, though we have a new power on our side. A power that only exists in the canon of Vengeance. We are a rare and mythical high schooler who has the forbidden power of friendship. Which is to say that unlike dogs, fellow humans are capable of using items to fight, and it's through the use of items that we can hit weaknesses by, well, this looks like magic, but I don't know, it doesn't cost MP. Maybe it's like having a one-use taser or something. Sadly, Yuzuru is a bad friend that leaves our party after the battle. However, Yoko here is the true MVP, a real friend, someone who chooses to stick around despite my ludicrous ideas, someone who won't judge me for eating icy cereal. And I'm thankful for it. She's really helpful in fighting against dogs. However, when a random lady shows up, it's suddenly a case of me being the only person working on the group project, because someone here sucked at gym class and isn't very good at punching this lady. It's fine though, I'm not angry, I can just beat up this woman with the help of my dogs. Man though, I sure hope we don't run into any more weird women. Oh god damn it! Thankfully, Primrose Octopath Traveler here is extremely easy to beat when you don't believe wind is real. Also, she really just wanted to kill me specifically, despite me blocking all of her attacks, which works, but like, why me? Is it because I beat up that other lady? I'll respect the solidarity. Once the fight is over, we finally get to talk to the first non-demonic adult I've seen around these parts before finally heading back to Tokyo. ignoring the bombshells about our very existence, I instead am more concerned about Yoko being transferred to our class. Like, what if she figures out I've been sleeping through lessons? My friends can't know my one weakness of being super eepy all the time. When we return to the dorms, Tao asks for advice on how to help her friend with their bullying problems, and Yoko gives the most reasonable advice I've ever heard, which is to kill your problems. I want to say this is a joke, but she really is giving the same advice I give my friends all the time. Whatever. I go to sleep and make my way to school, only to run into that lady again, and this time she's walking her stupid dog. Thankfully, I've mastered many skills to make this easy, those being, gay and knowing the counter skill. I mean, the protagonist seems pretty good at avoiding being charmed by Nama. I'm definitely not. I will say that this battle sets a precedent, though. That being that the protagonist will tank most every attack in existence and simply hope to do some sort of counter-attack damage. For, you see, the name of this game is Vitality Gaming, let's go! Since Nama is weak to physical, the general way this battle goes is I attack her, followed by guarding or healing, depending on my HP situation. This works to help lower my chances of being charmed, as well as damage taken. It's impossible for me to punish Nama's attacks, however, her dog will always either use physical attacks or force attribute attacks. Thankfully, I don't believe in wind, and as for physical attacks, I have the chance to punish with my counter skill. I should also probably mention that I get healed every turn due to having a miracle that will restore my HP every turn so long as my Magatsuhi gauge is full. Once the battle is over, I head over to the school and am reunited with Yoko. Not only that, but Tao decides to join us. These two will basically be a permanent part of our team for a good while. They're perfect for using items and have few downsides outside of Tao and Yoko being weak to dark and light respectively. You know, the two elements that have a chance to insta-kill you if you're weak to them. It's negligible though if you know how to deal with their weaknesses. And thus, their only other flaw is that we have no control over their learned skills. Since we can't use essences to get them to inherit passive skills, they'll be unable to learn anything that helps give me or my dogs an edge in battle. However, using items good because item damage scales off your magic is a pretty good upside. For now. Anyways, we end up fighting another weird dog and then return to the Hell Dimension. While we're in the Hell Dimension, we're harassed by another lady. This time, it's a lady who tries to stab us with her super long nails. However, counter. We're then harassed by Dimitri Fire Emblem. I would joke about this being a normal part of high school life, but Three Houses came out long after I graduated from high school, so he wins. This time. Well, except for the fact that he's prone to counter and has an extremely easy attack pattern to read, so I guess we can actually call this a draw. Tao then drags us along on a fetch quest to save our fellow students, which is absolutely not high schooler behavior, at least not that I remember. My peers were little shits then, and I returned that attitude back towards them. Yeah, it's the right thing to save everyone, but were I still my high school self, I'd say let those idiots rot. Doesn't matter though, as we have to go help our friends. Well, except for the part where Yuzuru betrays us in order to save his little sister, and you know what? Fair, I'd do the same thing when I was 17, and even now for my little sister. You have my respect, Yuzuru. However, the protective older sibling instinct in this one is strong, and I'm also like 4 levels below the boss, so I do some better prep before returning to fight Yuzuru. For a quick rundown of how this battle works, Yuzuru always opens using an ice shard, followed by Hayataro using Witness Me. Witness Me is a sort of taunt skill that will only allow my attacks to target Hayataro. And this fight only ends once Yuzuru falls, so I want to deal with Hayataro as little as possible. So the best way to do that is by making it so I absorb ice damage. Doing so instantly ends Yuzuru's turn, allowing me to press the attack immediately in order to remove half of his health. From there, it's just going through the normal battle cycle in this fight. My current dog is specifically made to block light attacks and counter physical attacks, which is important when every other turn, Yuzuru deals light-based damage instead of ice. Because of our cool opening, we only have to deal with one summoning of Hayataro. Once Yuzuru is defeated, we save his sister and are then asked what I consider the most impossible question in this game. Which is to say, I could write an essay on how I feel about this question and how difficult it is for me to choose my response here. So I decided to just go with the classic high schooler response, though I'm starting to think my high school experience may not be universal. Talking about normal experiences, it turns out all those kids we helped have now been put through your usual biblical punishment, just like high school. It's fine, I'll just nap it off, have one of those normal teenage dreams where you're told to destroy the system, and then, oh jeez, did anyone teach you to knock? Whatever the case, we now have a lead to further investigate, though we're getting attacked by angels despite working with the angels. I sure hope this doesn't foreshadow any future events, nor make clear any conflict that may exist between my friends. Though our sleuthing is put on hold when we're called back to assist Yuzuru, apparently his sister got kidnapped. Again. I'm starting to think this guy sucks at his job of being an older sibling. And it's here where we start dealing with battles that are painful to get through. See, my longest lasting battle up until this point was against Nama and her dog, taking somewhere around 20 minutes. But Konsu, oh Konsu, I hate this guy. I mean, I think he's cool, and have enjoyed him in the past, but now we have beef. For you see, he has the skill Diorama, and it tends to heal around 400 or so HP, which is around how much damage my whole party does in 2 or 3 turns, and he starts using Diorama regularly as his health gets lower. It eventually gets so bad he starts frequently having turns where he just uses Diorama twice in a row, healing far faster than I can dole out damage. The fight had gone on for so long at that point, I had just about given up and was prepared to say this would be impossible unless I managed to outspeed his healing. However, as soon as he killed Tao and my dog, he just stopped healing. He just really wanted to kill me and Yuzuru at that point, which meant I could slowly chip away at his health while trying to keep alive. Yuzuru sadly didn't last long, but I still had a chance. Konsu refused to use strength-based attacks, so my counter skill would never proc, but I knew Konsu would deal about 100 damage to me every turn. If I could just strategically heal between my attacks, I might just be able to whittle him down. After being locked in battle with this guy for 40 minutes, the moment finally came. With one final blow, Konsu was finished. Yoko then asks me if I should trust demons, and you know what, sure, if it means I don't have to battle Konsu for basically no reason again, then I'll gladly trust him. Anyways, we then speak to our local politician who does, you know, normal stuff, like turning our friend to salt. It's fine though, it was just Ichiro. He's not one of our main party members. Well, actually, guest characters are hardly even our main party members at all now. For, you see, I've taught my dogs the ability to use items. This makes the benefits of guest characters almost entirely void at this point, as my dogs can now fulfill the same role while also having customizable skill lists. This practice gets put to the test in our next battle, when, like, the one non-demon adult we've been in contact with attempts to kill us. Like, dude, I get we're annoying, but we're also children. It comes with the territory. Back to what I was talking about, though. With my current team, you'll notice I have one guest character in the first party slot, while 2 demons take up the 3rd and 4th slots. The reason for this is that my guest characters still have relatively high magic stats, while I and my demons are more based around vitality and strength. This makes the 3 of us rather bad at using attack items. So the setup is for Yuzuru to open with fire items to hit Newa's weakness, and deal decent enough damage. Young Man will then either use healing items or attack depending on the current status of my party, followed by Yoshitsune attacking, and Kinki following a similar pattern to Young Man. Any extra turns earned from hitting weaknesses or criticals are then spent doing whatever feels right for the current battle vibes. Then, on enemy turn, I'm hoping for Yakumo to focus his attacks on my 2 demon companions. This is due to Yakumo using only strength-based attacks, along with both my demons having Retaliate, a stronger version of counter. It's also acceptable if he attacks Young Man, but it's less desirable as I've yet to learn Retaliate myself. From there, I simply hope that Newa distributes her damage evenly so that she doesn't get us killed, as my team isn't great against magic attacks. It's also because of this, in combination with Yakumo being resistant to physical, that I want to kill Newa first. And this strategy seemingly works at first, but it falls apart pretty quickly as Yuzuru and Yoshitsune soon fall. However, Newa is at low health, and thankfully once she falls, Yakumo falls into an easy, predictable pattern. One that my remaining team can tank due to Vitality Gaming. See, when Yakumo is alone, he'll stop using Galvanic Slash and follow this pattern without fail. Critical Slash, Critical Aura, Deathbound. Thanks to him only having 1 press turn, this can be easily taken advantage of once you figure out where in the cycle you are. The idea is that when you know he'll use Critical Slash, you need to guard to prevent him from consuming only half a press turn. Then, when your turn begins, you can heal or attack as need be, as his next turn will be spent using Critical Aura. Then spend your next turn guarding, as Deathbound will be a guaranteed critical hit that will hit your entire party. And don't you dare expect to dodge his attacks. The man's innate skill makes it nearly impossible for him to miss. If you fail to guard against his Critical Slash, then you will miss a free opportunity to attack. But if you follow his cycle correctly, then this battle is extremely safe and near impossible to lose at this point. The only issue is waiting it out and maybe hoping for some lucky counter and retaliate procs to speed it up. Embarrassed over being beaten in a fight by a bunch of high schoolers, Yakumo makes his escape. Now, if you thought Konsu earlier was an asshole for healing himself, get ready for Agrat, is what I would say if her healing wasn't super predictable. See, Agrat has 3 press turns, and she has a specific way of using them. When she's at 3 press turns, she will always use a magic attack. This means if she hits criticals or weaknesses, she'll keep using magic until she's down to 2 press turns. It's when she's at 2 press turns that she'll typically use her healing skill if her AI deems it necessary. Otherwise, she'll use another magic attack. Once she has 1 press turn remaining, she'll typically use a physical attack. However, if it's a half press turn, she likes to use Concentrate. This means that if we can find a way to skip over her 2nd press turn icon, then she's essentially guaranteed to never heal. Now, she has 3 different magic attacks she uses: Almighty, Fire, and Ice. Almighty attacks sadly cannot be blocked. However, this is one of her less frequently used attacks, only cycled in every few turns. Her fire attack, Maragidyne, is a full party attack. My counter to this is Floros, as it blocks fire. This means Agrat will always consume 2 press turns when she uses Maragidyne, thus skipping over to her final press turn. As for ice attacks, she has Bufubarion and Mabufudyne. Now, she'll usually favor Mabufudyne, which is favorable as a full party attack. The reason for this is it means she's guaranteed to attack Young Man, who will absorb ice attacks. And the nice thing about that is it will instantly end Agrat's turn. Bufubarion, on the other hand, tends to be her opener after she's gathered Magatsuhi. In this case, I simply hope she chooses to target Young Man or Jikokutin, due to them absorbing and blocking ice respectively. So long as her script to use Diamrita is interrupted, then this fight is rather easy. Now, I would say that this was good prep for the real boss battle that comes up, but no. Agrat on her own is actually more threatening than all of the Kadishtu combined. I'd call this a gimmick fight of sorts. See, Lilith is technically the boss here. Once she falls, the fight is over. And her gimmick is that she can't actually fight on her own. She has no attack skills outside of her basic attack, much like my team. However, she can summon the rest of the Kadishtu and uses support skills to help make them more annoying. And if all the Kadishtu are on the field, then they can use a powerful almighty skill to destroy your party. It may all seem threatening at first, but then you remember that we've already dealt with the other Kadishtu and learned how to counter them. So the real gimmick of this fight is managing the Kadishtu on the field while slowly whittling away at Lilith's health. Luckily, there is a counter to their powerful almighty attack. See, it's always used after Lilith gathers Magatsuhi, and the attack can be cancelled if any one of the Kadishtu is killed. Should the attack fail, all of the enemy's press turns will be consumed, essentially skipping their turn and giving you a free moment to attack. Because of this, I decided on a priority system for the Kadishtu. If all of them were present, then Nama would be the first to go, as she can be easily wailed on due to her weakness to physical attacks. If Nama is down, then I want to attack Lilith, as Aishith is likely to get herself killed by counter skills. However, if Lilith erects a physical barrier, then we focus our attacks on either Lilith or Aishith, depending on whether Aishith has removed her own barrier by getting countered. If Aishith is the only one down, then I attack Nama 4 times, as I know it will only cost me half press turns, thus doubling the length of my turn. After that, I focus the attack on Lilith to help chip away at her. And if both Nama and Aishith are down, then I solely focus my attack upon Lilith. Now, you might notice that I'm ignoring Agrat entirely. This is purposeful. See, Lilith technically gets 2 press turns and acts at the very start and end of the enemy turn, assuming no press turns are lost, nor half press turns consumed. Since Agrat has both the easiest moveset to counter and acts at the end of the enemy turn cycle before it repeats, she's the best person to take advantage of. See, she still has her fire and ice magic attacks. However, her almighty attack and healing skill are gone, meaning it's even easier to use her to delete press turns. As such, I kept my Agrat team and made certain to never kill her. By keeping her around, I can make certain that Lilith never gets a second turn during enemy phase. This also means that whenever it's just Lilith and Agrat, the battle is completely safe. It's essentially impossible to get killed when it's just them. The only real issue at this point is Lilith sometimes erecting physical barriers to block my attacks, and the fact that she resists physical attacks. That alone made this battle take almost an hour, despite it being extremely easy. And the reward I get for completing this neat battle turned boring? Death, as is part of the usual high school experience, and it turns out they didn't even kill me right. I just had to suffer a near-death experience, as both my guardian and friend die to protect me. Not to mention that what remains of my friend group are now trying to kill each other. God, I can't leave these idiots alone for 5 seconds, can I? Well, I guess I have a new dad now, and to celebrate, it's time to enter my edgy phase and start destroying the church or something. Honestly, it's at this point that normal enemies are causing me more trouble than the bosses. I mean, yeah, bosses tend to have way more health and thus take longer to kill, but they're also balanced out to be more fair as a result. The cherub mini-boss, though, that thing almost made me rage quit. And if y'all weren't aware, I tend to be an extremely calm person. It takes something special to actually upset me. Still, I figured it out, and Abdiel, who came after, was extremely easy by comparison. She only ever targeted me with her physical attacks, but my extremely high vitality meant that her efforts left little more than a scratch, so yeah, she was kinda easy to beat. Anyways, Tokyo's falling apart now, I guess. And Tao's a goddess. And she's trying to force me to become a god now to recreate the world. But girl, Have you listened to me at all during our adventures? You know I hate the current system of power. Last time you did this in vanilla SMT5, you got angry at me for wanting to destroy the system of creation in order to create a world for humans alone. This either ends in me betraying your trust, or me surprisingly getting the law ending for once in my life. I suppose I'll play along for now, though. If the world's gonna end, I may as well have fun with it. And find Yoko. I'm really just doing this to say hi to Yoko. But I need to ascend to the Empyrean to do so. And I need 3 keys to even think about entering that place. 2 of those keys are locked behind a battle against Zeus and Odin. It's not really difficult considering my builds have been perfect for countering physical attacks. I've just modified my party to nullify any electric attacks these 2 gods of thunder like to use. What's more important is my beautiful Mothman here, who I've created specifically to join us in the Endgame. Bro nullifies literally all magic outside of Almighty. And it's due to this build that I choose to battle Beelzebub with only Mothman at my side. Since Beelzebub is a magic attacker, he's shut down completely by Mothman. And his notorious Deathfly spell, nerfed to the extreme in this game. It's not some almighty spell with a chance of insta-death that you have no way to counter here. Instead, it's a severe dark spell that can be blocked, so this battle is completely safe. Metatron, who's blocking the way to the Empyrean, is far more of an issue. Fire of Sinai is an almighty attack that can hit a random number of times, so there's no way to block it. And without things like Dakaja or Dakunda, he'll destroy me with Tarukaja and Debilitate. It was pure luck that I managed to get through the battle on my first try, especially when I soloed a majority of the fight. We can get our Mothman revenge, though, and absolutely destroy Abdiel and Ichiro. Since Mothman can use Twilight Wave when the Magatsuhi gauge is full, we have a chance every few turns to put Abdiel and Ichiro to sleep. This battle is very easy whenever Abdiel is asleep. So, alright, everything's been doable thus far. And hey, we've reunited with Yoko, and she still wants to be my friend, so that's nice. Though now our local politician wants us dead. And it's here that everything falls apart. Tiamat has a main body and 3 heads. We need to kill the body in order to win the battle. However, the body is resistant to attacks, which is where the heads come into play. Each head has 2000 HP, and when killed, they will be revived by absorbing health from the main body. The goat head is weak to physical attacks, camel to magic, and the dragon head is neutral. So with my physical-based team, I should just attack the goat head until I win, right? Obviously using Twilight Wave every time the Magatsuhi gauge refills, so I can do damage to all of Tiamat as well. Well, it's not that simple. The strategy would work if Tiamat didn't have Mediarama. Mediarama heals all the heads and Tiamat's body for anywhere around 600 to 2000 HP, depending on how mean she wants to be. And she'll do this every turn. If I were to get the very best luck, then I'd have to kill the goat head once every 3 turns in order to outspeed her healing. But with only 2 characters, that's close to impossible. And even if I had a full team that was nearly as good as Youngman and Mothman are at the moment, we would just barely reach enough damage to maybe kill the goat head once every 3 or 4 turns, which depending on Tiamat's healing rolls isn't enough to outspeed her healing. Or at the very least outspeed her healing while keeping myself alive. I wasn't going to win with this team. So it was time to take measures I was holding myself back from. It was time for some Kadishtu gaming. So, you remember that one attack I always prevented Lilith from using in her battle? Well, it's a special attack I can use. So long as all 4 Kadishtu exist in my demon stock and at least one is on the field, I can use Kadishtu Entropy, a Magatsuhi skill that deals heavy almighty damage to each enemy twice, has a chance to inflict charm, and fully heals my entire party. This entire time I've actually been avoiding using any Magatsuhi skills I felt were too powerful, but this was the best way for me to outspeed Tiamat's healing. One use of the skill would both do damage to the main body and do just enough to kill each head, dealing over 8,000 damage total. As it healed me, this then meant I could focus on attacking the goat head in order to refill my Magatsuhi gauge. This meant I was able to use Kadishtu Entropy once every 2 turns, so yeah, I was definitely outspeeding Tiamat's healing. Of course, once her health is low enough, the heads will no longer be healed, meaning I have to damage the body, and with the body resisting my only form of attack, it meant I had to stay alive while I waited for the Magatsuhi gauge to refill. With just a few more uses of Kadishtu Entropy, we managed to take down Tiamat. Mastama is obviously not pleased with this outcome, so he's gonna kill us. Or, well, he can try. However, I am a firm believer in Vitality Gaming. It's a skill I learned long ago in order to master the art of blindfolded boss battles in this series. So long as you're capable of tanking damage to prolong a fight, then you can do anything. And as such, this follows the same idea as most of my blindfolded strategies. Normally in a blindfolded run, I'll have 2 characters who set up buffs and debuffs, 1 character who knows how to heal real good, and a main damage dealer. As in a dude with like maxed out strength or magic who charges their attack and then attacks. The other characters can do chip damage if they're done with doing buffs or debuffs, and I have yet to hear Dakunda or Dakaja get used by the boss. However, the main damage is happening usually every other turn by the main damage dealer. Now, obviously that's not what's happening here, as I cannot use buff or debuff skills here, but it follows the same idea. Young Man is my dedicated healer, making sure everyone is healthy each turn while Mothman, Ongyoki, and Lilith are doing chip damage to the boss. They may also do healing if necessary, but it's usually not the case as we're a high vitality team. Then, every few turns, the Magatsuhi gauge will have filled up. This is basically my equivalent of using Concentrate or Charge. I'm simply waiting for the moment to use my powerful skill, then BAM! Lilith uses Kadishtu Entropy, rinse, and repeat. There's little else to really say about this fight. I mean, Mastama has Crime and Punishment, which gives him extra press turns for every time I hit his weakness or land a critical, in which case I only allow myself upwards of 2 criticals per turn. If I crit a second time, everyone guards, just to make sure he can't nuke me with almighty spam. And the same strategy applies to the final boss of the game. It's the weak version of Lucifer, so he's not all that difficult to deal with. He just takes forever to harm as he nullifies or resists most every attack type. The only thing of note is that I specifically time my use of Kadishtu Entropy to stop him from using Falling Star. With Lucifer defeated, I can confidently say that yes, you can beat Shin Megami Tensei V Vengeance without using MP, so long as you ignore the tutorial battle. And I'm gonna be honest, this was actually a really fun challenge to do at times. Like, yes, there were some long and boring battles, but it was also an interesting puzzle. I refuse to do this on hard mode, though. Anyways, I guess I can sit back, relax, and enjoy my preferred and hey, wait a second, did you take my book? Ooh, that's it, our friendship is over.